Mhm. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي أشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Thank you everyone for coming. We are continuing our discussion on the 19th word. This is part 2. So this word is very exciting because it's talking about the messengership of Muhammad. And it's very interesting to approach the topic from the perspective of how can I, or what is the criteria for prophethood, so that I can have a firm belief in Muhammad and in prophethood and in his prophethood, and feel comfortable in following him and to have real conviction. Last week we spoke about the first droplet, which is, I will just read the topic sentence because I feel like it's a great foundation for our discussion. It's saying there are 3 great and universal things which make known to us our sustainer. So here the author is going to help us think about these 3 great and universal things that reveal our sustainer. And they are 1, the universe, 2, the seal of the prophets, and 3, the Quran. And we discussed the phrase seal of the prophets, and we were trying to understand what does that mean last time. Today, we will be continuing from the 2nd paragraph where it says, yes, consider the collective personality of this proof. The face of the earth has become his mosque, Mecca his mihrab, and Medina his fuel pit. Now here I'm thinking, okay, I'm just someone who is trying to figure out my existence, who is trying to understand this message that's being brought. And now we're talking about this person that's bringing this message. So let's continue the paragraph and see what we can see what the author is saying. Our prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, this clear proof is...
Can I interrupt you, Radwa? I think there's a hand up by Brother Ali.
Oh, thank you very much, Hassan. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
If the connection disconnects, this is what we meet on the way. Now, it was interesting to see that Mecca is described as a mosque, and it is the mihrab, and Medina is portrait. But it was interesting in the mihrab,
Your connection is very weak, Brother Ali.
If you don't hear me, just I'll grave stop. You don't hear me still, not properly.
We're trying to make a, yes, a little bit, yes. You're talking about the mihrab?
Yeah, mihrab. Mecca is his mosque. Excuse me, the case of the earth has become his mosque. We all understand that its message is all over the world. That's why all over the world, the globe of earth is its message. Is it clear? Or shall I stop? Shall I continue or stop it? Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Do you think it is good for the recording? I think Brother Hassan is to respond to this question. Hassan?
Honestly, I did not understand what you were saying, yes.
I say, so if you don't understand the recording will be very bad, so there is no need to speak really quietly. So you continue with it because there are people around me, I don't want to shout. Correct? If I shout, maybe I'm disturbing for others. Okay, I just really mute myself and
Okay, thank you. So maybe we can we can remember to talk about this specific sentence next time, inshallah, when you can. But if anyone has questions or reflections on this part, maybe it's just worthy of, paying attention to it. If someone has any understanding of what the author could mean by this, the face of the earth has become his mosque, Mecca his mihrab, and Medina his pulpit.
I mean, I can try a little bit. So, for example, I think the author is describing his collective personality of the messengership, prophethood of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So the whole face of the earth, the whole universe, as you can imagine, which cannot exist by itself, it's a created thing. And it gives us a message, gives us a signal that what is going on in this world. So it becomes one of the places where you can see that it gives the signs. That's why his mosque is as we see in our civilization, it has become a place of worship. Right, so the whole earth reminds us of the message, like who is the creator of this universe, of the earth. So it can become a mosque as well. Right, so it gives us like the indications of the signals, for example, the signs in the universe, the tree, the birds, the mountains, everything we can see. They don't exist by itself, but it's there. So it gives us a sign who made this earth, the flowers, the trees, the mountains. So that's why it can see that the Prophet Muhammad emphasizes on his personality of his proof that what is this earth? What is this place, the universe that we are living in? So he's giving us the signs that this universe is something that gives us a meaning behind it. And Mecca, of course, is a symbolic thing, his mihrab, and Medina, his pulpit. But of course, Brother Ali may have some more discussion when he comes back. He can explain it to us more.
Thank you very much. I heard something. Is someone trying to speak? Okay. Thank you. All right. I guess I'll move on. I'm our prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, this clear proof, is leader of all the believers, preacher to all mankind, the chief of all the prophets, Lord of all the saints, the leader of a circle for the remembrance of God, comprising all the prophets and saints. He is a luminous tree whose living roots are all the prophets, and fresh fruits are all the saints, whose claims all the prophets relying on their miracles, and all the saints relying on their wonder working, confirm and corroborate. For he declares and claims there is no God but God, and all on left and right, that is, those luminous reciters of God's names lined up in the past and the future, repeat the same words, and through their consensus, in effect declare, you speak the truth and what you say is right. What false idea has the power to meddle in a claim which is thus affirmed and corroborated by thousands? I think the sentence where it says he's a luminous tree whose living roots are all the prophets and fresh fruits are all the saints is very telling. Like I actually looked up what does a luminous tree look like. um, I honestly didn't have an image, but apparently it's a tree that there's light on it or light coming through it, and it's usually in a dark spot. And here the author is using this imagery and explaining the roots of the tree are living, and all these roots are prophets. And he's also adding that the fruits are all the saints. I just think that the idea of I guess prophethood in general.
If I may add, Radwa.
Yeah.
Yes. You know how Brotherly defined what the seal of the prophets, and the prophets is plural with an S.
Yeah.
So it's tied to that a little bit. So see, living roots are all the prophets. So luminous tree, so he comprises, basically comprising all the prophets and saints. So he is following a chain of the message of the prophets. So corroborating and in the same line of whatever the prophetic messages are. So he, as a continuation, as a follow-up, and his is the most encompassing message because it, as we kind of discussed last time about the universality of the message that the Quran brings, combining all the three elements, as you mentioned in the beginning, in the introduction, about the universe, the prophets, right, and the Quran, the verbal speech of the Creator, all combined together, and his message of the La ilaha illallah. Nothing has the quality of worship than the one who gave it existence. So whatever is in the universe has no quality by itself, but whatever is given by the Lord of the universe. No divinity, divine qualities on anything. So all the prophets and saints have been coming up with that message, but the way how clearly him and the Quran reveals it, that's why what makes it more clear, universal, and luminous as a symbolic, metaphorical language. And of course, living roots is that it does not die. For example, continuously living. The message itself, although the individual, the person dies, but the message itself is always living roots. And also fruits are also not rotten, but they are fresh. An interesting word also. Fresh fruits are all the saints. So continuously the message is being revived and shared. So fresh fruits are all the saints. So it's a continuation of the messengership or prophethood.
Thank you. Okay. I can move on if no one has anything else to add. Okay. All right, the second droplet. Just as that luminous proof of divine unity is affirmed by the unanimity and consensus of those two wings, so do hundreds of indications in the revealed scriptures, like the Torah and Bible. There's a footnote here. Not sure. I will read it, but it's not on the screen. It says in his risale-i Hamidiyya, Hussein Jisri extracted 114 indications from those scriptures. If this many have remained after the texts have become corrupted, there were surely many explicit mentions before. Okay. Again, just as that luminous proof of divine unity is affirmed by the unanimity and consensus of those two wings, so do hundreds of indications in the revealed scriptures like the Torah and Bible, and the thousands of signs that appeared before the beginning of his mission, and the well-known news given by the voices from the unseen, and the unanimous testimony of the soothsayers, the indications of the thousands of his miracles, like the splitting of the moon, and the justice of Sharia all confirm and corroborate him. So too in his person, his laudable morals, which were at the summit of perfection, and in his duties, his complete confidence and elevated qualities, which were of the highest excellence, and his extraordinary fear of God, worship, seriousness, and fortitude, which demonstrated the strength of his belief and his total certainty and his complete steadfastness. These all show as clearly as the sun how utterly faithful he was to his cause. Okay, so now I see that the author is trying to show us, well, there are even more indications or signs that confirm Muhammad or confirm his prophethood. So the beginning we were talking about how he's the seal of the prophets, so he's confirmed by that. But here it's talking about the miracles and how the scriptures mentioned him and the justice of Sharia. Now, when I first read this, I was like, okay, but I didn't study or see all of this. But again, if you need to, I guess you can, in order to confirm it for yourself. And then I asked myself if I did see the miracle or heard, right, like if I actually saw the miracle of the splitting of the moon or heard him talk about it, would that be enough for me? Me personally, not necessarily. But again, the author is, I guess, providing us with another way of proving or understanding the criteria of prophethood. Anything here you'd like to add or reflect on or ask questions? Even if we won't answer it today, we can keep it and discuss it next time.
So just to add a little bit, so we know there are like some serious scholars who know the Torah and the Bible, where they say they prophesize about the coming of Prophet Muhammad or a savior or someone after. At least in the Torah there are mentions, and Bible also I think there is one or two verses where it says that there is a king that will come after me. And I think people started wondering, okay, who is this gonna be? And then there are multiple interpretations on it. But of course, it tells us that there is the continuation of the message that happens. And of course, Prophet Muhammad being the final completion of the prophet, as we discussed last time about what the seal of the prophets meant. And people can go and refer to that, but that kind of gave a good description of how do we understand what the seal of the prophets is. And of course, the many indications in terms of how they're historically narrated as well about the signs before his becoming a messenger, a prophet. There are many indications and testimonies that are recorded. And of course, as you said about the miracles at that time during his mission, to highlight that he is a messenger, there were physical signs that he demonstrated as well, of course, and performed by the grace of God, or everything that he was doing. Of course, he never claimed anything that it was his doing. Neither the message is his. But this final paragraph section in the paragraph, in his personality, the morals that he, in terms of his understanding of what this purpose of life is, what this universe is about, was completely at the peak perfection, summit of perfection. How he responded, his duties, complete confidence and elevated qualities, of course, highest excellence, extraordinary, fear of God, worship, seriousness, and fortitude, which demonstrated the strength of his belief. Of course, these are all within his personality, how he regarded the whole life, the seriousness of being here in this world, because everybody knows we're not here forever. So how do we live in this world knowing that things are changing, passing by? What is the meaning behind this? We all have these human questions within us. And this is the example that, as a messenger prophet, with the revelation of the Quran, how he lived according to that revelation with the message of there is no God but God, la ilaha illallah. And being an example for us, for me as well, to make sure my personality also has the same understanding, goes with the same, tries to achieve the same perfection in my living in this world, in my seriousness on how I live my life as well, and establish my belief in the absolute Lord of the universe. Of course, fulfilling his cause, which is to bring people the light in their darkness of this transience of this world, what to make of this ever-changing. Things are going quickly passing by, and how do I make sense, and all my feelings which are suffering, how do I point them to the direction that shows me that yes, I'm being taken care of by the Lord of the universe. There must be a life after death in this world.
Thank you very much. I was thinking if the last part of the paragraph is kind of echoing the idea of making the earth, the face of the earth has become his mosque. Perhaps that's I feel like it's kind of reflecting that if his personality was so loud and showing worship and fear of God and strength of his belief, so it makes sense that he treated the place of the earth as a place of as a mosque, basically. That's all. I can move to the third droplet. Okay. If you wish, come. Let us go to the Arabian Peninsula, to the era of bliss. In our imaginations, we shall see him at his duties and visit him. Look, we see a person distinguished by his fine character in beautiful form. In his hand is a miraculous book, and on his tongue a truthful address. He is delivering a pre-eternal sermon to all mankind. Indeed, to man, jinn, and the angels, and to all beings, he solves and expounds the strange riddle of the mystery of the world's creation. He discovers and solves the abstruse talisman, which is the mystery of the universe, and he provides convincing and satisfying answers to the three awesome and difficult questions that are asked of all beings and have always bewildered and occupied minds. Where do you come from? What are you doing here? And what is your destination? Okay, so again, another proof, or if you want to call it criteria, to his prophethood is how he responded to questions like, where do you come from, and what are you doing here, and what is your destination? Now, for me, I have to reflect on the idea of, do I have these questions? Do I want to know the answers to these questions? And am I willing to just consider the suggested answers given by Muhammad or not? Like, it's not that because he said the answers to these questions that would make him a prophet. I mean, in my opinion, in my understanding, it's the fact that it's matching something within me, or it's meeting a particular need, or it's responding right to the point of my questions of where do I come from, and what am I doing here, and what is your destination? of course, and not in the materialistic sense, but more of the spiritual or meaning-based worldview. So of course, if he is someone who is delivering responses or messages that directly answer these questions for me, then that would qualify him as a prophet, among other proofs, of course. And the fact that whatever he's delivering is in line with the message of there is no God but God. Any questions here or reflections here? Oh, I see you highlighted something. Did you want to talk about it, or you're good?
Just to add to what you were saying, yeah. So, I mean, human beings, we are also we have questions. I mean, most of us are usually involved in what our daily affairs, what we are involved with, usually spend our time mostly in what is going on in our daily activities, but we may not get the sense of what this universe, what's the behind the things that are happening in this world, because we always are used to it and just take it for just granted. But the ones who think and really reflect on what this life means, what this world is about, is what we call the human questions. And many philosophers have attempted to answer these questions, but none of them, at least, has really come up with the answer, because these are difficult questions and only the philosophers are trying to tackle them. And not everyone has access to what the thoughts of the philosophers are. But still, they live in this world and they are coming up with their own ideas and understanding based on what they see and how they see, without any divine guidance, without any prophets, just within one aspect of the universe itself, which is not possible. That's why there is a need of the messengership. There's a need of divine guidance in a human life. It's like a machine that's just left there and you tell the machine to find itself whatever the meaning behind it is, without any manual or without the engineer telling what the machine is about. So that's why the whole world is like a riddle, and then there is the meaning behind it that has to be solved and that has to be explained. And it should be meaningful to me, should be a satisfying answer, rather than, we don't know, or however the philosophy kind of answers it. That's why these major questions are always there with us. What am I doing in this life? What is my destination? I mean, they say Maslow's, in psychology, I think they have the higher achievement, where you are left, what your needs are, and basic human needs. And then the highest is that you're serving mankind, humanity, and that's your purpose in life. And where do you go? No answer, nothing. What is your destination? Nothing really. So that's an interesting aspect of how the messengership, and along with the universe and the Quran, solves the mysteries of the universe for us.
Thank you. I'm also thinking if not only is there answers to the questions, but how to live the answers to these questions is also part of the dilemma. So I like how the author is pinpointing to to the prophet's fine character, but not in terms of like what is he doing per se, or how did he live this world, who did he marry, how many, blah blah blah. It's more like how he was committed to the book and to delivering the message, basically, which is a much deeper level of living the answers to the questions. So I appreciate that the author is bringing this out. Like so far, or all the proofs we're talking about, or all the aspects of prophethood we're talking about, is the message and how the prophet was mentioned in other scriptures and his character, and now the actual more in detail kind of what is the message bringing or answering. So I'm finding that this focus is kind of new.
Yeah, thank you. The applicability of it, and also like the universality of the message is also important. Every being, as he says, all beings. How does all beings become a receiver of the message of the prophet? One can ask, right? It's not just a prophet of the Muslims, or it's not, but he is a prophet to all mankind, everyone, including all mankind, and even the angels and all the beings. Yep, there's a hand up. So Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually really like what you said a moment ago about how if you take a psychology class in college, we're always introduced to Maslow and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't remember what the top one was, but my recollection is it doesn't encompass these three questions. You can refresh my memory because it's been a long, long time, but it seems to me that Maslow doesn't address these three questions. And I don't know really how you can get through life without asking these three questions. And if you start asking these questions, you're not going to find them in the secular world. So you're going to have to search some other place. And for me, the Quran provides the only convincing answer. So I just think these three questions are so essential. I don't understand why people don't put more thought into them. If they think about it, if they think even about it at all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. I think Radva, you want to continue with wherever you posted on the chat? Self-actualization, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just responding to Anne. She was wondering what's the top of the hierarchy. It's self-actualization. And no, I don't think it addresses these three questions, at least.
Right. Self-actualization. Yeah. Do you remember? I don't want to get off topic too much, but do you remember what that meant? I don't recall it meaning these deeply spiritual questions. Do you remember what self-actual? I guess I can look it up. So I guess that's okay. It's just that because I grew up in a secular environment, my entire life, Maslow assumes a very high status in most educated Westerners' minds, because he seems to have figured it out. These hierarchy of needs is a very powerful concept in Western society. Everybody who's quote unquote educated, should know these hierarchy of needs. Thank you.
Yeah, from what I recall, it's more of self-actualization was about the helping others, humanitarian kind of activities. That's what his higher purpose was, but doesn't answer all the human questions. Like, where am I going? What am I doing in this life? No, the hierarchy never answers any of those. Even the highest point of self-actualization is just to help out with the others and share your knowledge or experience and whatever way you can to feel good, because helping others gives that sense of fulfillment and feeling good. So that's what he was, at least from what I recall when I was studying this also, but it never addressed my real human concerns.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's like self-realization. Let's see, it says self-awareness and personal growth. What else does it say? Problem solving, acceptance of facts. It's all very grounded in a secular society. So this provides a very powerful, convincing alternative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, our fourth droplet. See, he spreads such a light of truth that if you look at the universe as being outside the luminous sphere of his truth and guidance, you see it to be like a place of general mourning, in beings strangers to one another and hostile, and inanimate beings to be like ghastly corpses. Sorry, did someone want to say something? No, okay. I thought I heard someone, sorry. And living creatures like orphans, weeping at the blows of death and separation. Okay, so that is seeing.
Buraya koyacağım. Oldu, sağ ol.
Sorry, okay. Now look, through the light he spreads. Sorry, I meant to say that the first part is without the light of truth, and now we're gonna see what the light is doing. Through the light he spreads, that place of universal mourning has been transformed into a place where God's names and praises are recited in joy and ecstasy. Wow, that's a huge transformation. At first, I'm reading the first part of the paragraph and I'm feeling this heaviness and, okay, I don't want this. And now there's this huge transformation, and it's almost like something has been lifted, or it's such a strong revelation to see things as reciting God's names in joy and ecstasy. The following line is even more exciting. It says, the foreign hostile beings have become friends and brothers. While the dumb, dead, inanimate creatures have have all become familiar officials and docile servants. Please correct me if I'm mispronouncing. And the weeping, complaining orphans are seen to be either reciting God's names and praises or offering thanks at being released from their duties. Okay, so now 2 images, 1 image, everything is a stranger. Orphans weeping. I'm kind of curious to understand what that means, and if anyone understands, please let me know. How are things orphans, basically, and then through the light that Muhammad is spreading, they don't become orphans. They're seen to be reciting God's names and praises or offering thanks and being released from their duties.
Sure. Okay. Faria wants to share something. Go ahead. Faria.
Assalamu alaikum. So interesting question about the orphans. I also wondered about that. So the query was like, how do we know if something is an orphan or not?
Yeah.
Right. So pretty much, I mean, if I don't have anything to attribute my existence to, then I become an orphan pretty much. Or go ahead.
Or if you don't see everything as not having an owner, not being taken care of, then that becomes an owner. So this whole paragraph is like talking to our feelings. That's one thing. So it's a very symbolic, metaphoric kind of language. Like if you have the light of the truth, what is the light of the truth? If the meaning, the message that is brought by the messengership of the Prophet, the Quran, the universe, if all those message is not combined and seen to reveal to me that everything is being taken care of by a merciful one, the Lord of the universe, who's taking care of each and every being at all times, then everything is just seen as a passing, dying species, orphans, because there's no owner, nothing is taking care of them, suffering from the blows of death, separation, losing, this whole secular civilization is just kind of in this kind of situation. If one sees their whole life, what they're here with no purpose. Oops, what am I doing here? 1 second, let me fix this. Yeah, that's why many people would intoxicate themselves, go to the bar, because just to hide away or not ponder over these human existential questions, because life is passing by and they know that at the end they will lose whatever they gained. Blows of death and separation is there. But that's how the secular world without the light kind of brings into picture. Into my feelings, I just suffer continuously. Whereas within my feelings, when I understand what the meaning behind this is, that there's a Lord behind the whole beings, everything is being taken care of. The change that is happening is from His will. He knows what He's doing, a conscious being. And this life is given to me for a purpose. All these beings that I'm entertaining myself with, that I'm losing, although I'm losing, but they are given for me for a purpose, to recognize Him. and that this life is just the means for me to go to the next life. It's just a passageway. It's not my permanent residence. So my feelings are, when I see that there's an owner to something, my feelings are feel much better. For example, if there's a Wild Wild West kind of scenario, you will always feel that some cowboy would come and just shoot whatever is out there. Life is in danger, but if you know that there's a particular government and there's soldiers and there's an army that is protecting the whole nation, then yeah, you feel secure that there's a conscious being, a king, a ruler, a president who is taking care of each and every civilian in this place. And there's no wild, crazy scenario that can happen. So imagine how a human being feels when there's law and order versus when there's no law and order in a place. I mean, imagine a whole corrupt society, all corruption. You don't know if you're going to live tomorrow. What kind of enjoyment can you have? Whereas if you know that there's someone who's taking care of each and everything, then you can really rest at peace and enjoy whatever is there out there.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate how the author is continuously trying to bring this prophethood idea through different means, just like you were saying, how he's tackling our feelings. And the idea that something was an orphan and then it becomes sort of something that's reciting God's name, and then from separation and death to a place of joy. Again, I feel like this needs a very serious commitment to actually, first of all, confront the idea that everything feels like a stranger to me, that everything is painful, and then recognize that, oh, there's a light of truth. Now I need to give it a shot. Now I need to listen to it. And then when I realize that things have become friends and they're reciting God's names, then a huge burden has been lifted off of me. But again, this needs serious commitment, because it's not just growing up in a secular environment or anything like that that can blind us from this. It's more not sitting down with the questions and the painful feelings that we have. Because the questions and the painful feelings are reminders that there is something that I need to see. There is something I need to be looking for. And if the light is what will change or will address my painful feelings and questions, then it's worthy of studying, I guess. I was going to say looking at it, but then I changed my mind. But again, I'm just appreciating the methodology of bringing the prophethood of Muhammad so close. Now it's not just answering my questions of where do you come from? What are you doing here? What is your destination? It's not just giving me a superficial answer. No, it's also tackling, well, what are the things around me? How are they related to me? How can I see them in the sight of the existence of God and the presence of God? How can I become familiar with them? How can I be in contact with them? And then that will reflect within me. Because if I see that everything is a stranger around me, then I'm going to feel that I'm a stranger to everyone. And it's going to get scary and scary and very painful. So again, this is all addressing my need to feel existentially secure. And if I can arrive at that, or at least realize that there's a possibility of that, then that's very exciting. Yeah, any reflections here? I don't want to rush through this paragraph, so if anybody has any reflections, even if it's a phrase that you just really liked in the paragraph, or a question. Okay.
Yeah, so I think like how we're reading this a little bit, all these 3 droplets that we read, second droplet, third droplet, and fourth droplet, makes me remind me, actually, it's a good reminder for all of us, like what our purpose in life is, the seriousness of the matter of our life, and the necessity of the messengership. I mean, we don't really appreciate how important and meaningful my life becomes with the Institute of Messengership and what the Prophet actually means in my life. And all these droplets are a result of that, how much I feel that I need meaning in my life, that I need someone to guide me in my life, because I usually live as if I'm running my own life. Most of us live in this way that, as we don't realize that it is not me who is doing or arranging my life, but somebody is continuously presenting and demonstrating and taking care of how the way I'm living in this world. So there is as the author kind of shares, the whole universe is within the sphere of his truth and guidance. Whereas without the universe being, if I'm doing it, or the things in the universe are living by themselves, then that is something that is outside of the sphere of his guidance. That's how I would be seeing it. And then everything becomes a huge burden. I would have to take care of each and every aspect of my life. Everything is leaving, I'm changing, everyone is aging, continuously going out of this universe. Everything becomes like an orphan. It's a Quranic description of yatim, orphan, which is not the way we understand in the culture and civilization. Someone without parents, but someone without an owner, a caretaker, a lord. If the whole understanding of if something is without an owner, then it becomes an orphan in my eyes. So really, we have to wonder if in my life, in our lives, we really need the messenger to be there. I think that's what my takeaway is from today's discussion, alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for coming and participating and listening. I think we can stop here. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.